And we're back to learning to code, and we are already in the 13th course of the responsive web design section on freecodecamp. So we are right here where we are going to build a piano. It's a little bit of media queries and pseudo-selectors. It's a shorter one this time, and here's our end result. It's going to be responsive. Let us set it up first with the structure that we already know from the previous course sections. So we need our doc type, the HTML, the language attribute, and we need a head and a body inside. And we also need a title. In step 2, we are going to add the meta tag. We are inside of our head right here. We've done that already a couple of times in the previous courses. So it's UDF-8. And we're going to make it responsive. So we need our name viewport. Set the content to equal device width. So width equals device width, and set the initial scale to 1.0. That should be it. Let me close it right here. Step 3. We're now inside of the body for the first time. And we'll add our first div container. And we'll give it the ID piano. It is going to be our general container for the entire project. We're inside of it now, and we're going to nest another div in it. And we'll give it a class keys. Step 5. And inside of our keys div container right here, we'll add 7 individual div elements with the class key. So be careful here not to get that mixed up. This one has the class key for the individual key, and the container for this has the class keys, so the plural. Let's head to step 6, and we'll add a second class to some of these individual keys. We need it for the 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 6th, and 7th. And let me just copy paste it. It's black -- key. So these 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 6th, and 7th, they have 2 classes now. Let's go to step 7, and we'll copy this part and paste it 2 more times to have 3 sets in total. So we should have 21 keys in this keys container. I'll just use Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, and we're good here. Step 8. Let's link our CSS, so we're back inside of the head. We use the link element, set the relationship to style sheet, and the href to styles.css. I've got a little bit of a typo here, obviously not a question mark. We need the equal sign, now it should work. Step 9, we are in our CSS for the first time. We're going to select the entire HTML because we want to reset our box size and change it to border box. And now we've got a pseudo-selector right here. So read over this yourself to understand it fully. But I think it also becomes clearer when we add extra content to our div containers and style them. So I'll just quickly glance over it here in this step. What you need to understand is that we have these before and after pseudo-selectors, and we're going to use them to create elements. And as the name suggests, these elements can come before or after a certain class or a certain ID that we use as a selector. Let me use this star icon and set the box sizing to inherit so that it inherits the value border box. And we also want to have it for before and after. So write it like this. And that way we've set it all to inherit the value. Once again, it's going to become a little bit clearer when we add extra content. So let's head over to step 11. And we'll target the piano, which was our main container for everything. It has the ID piano, so we use hashtag piano, add the background color, a width and a height. And it's now this greenish background. And everything will be displayed on top of it. You can see it if I make it bigger. At some point it doesn't grow in size anymore. So when the window display has reached 992 pixels width, it's going to move with it. And now we'll set the margin top and bottom to 80 pixels and left and right to auto. That way it's going to be in center. Let's go to step 13. And now we're targeting our keys. So not the individual key, so the 21 divs that have the class of key, but this one div with the class keys. Again, we'll need a background color, a width, and a height. As this is nested inside of the piano ID div, it's going to be on top, just like this. Let's go to step 14. We'll add a padding left of 2 pixels. And now we'll add a padding to the piano. The values are given for top 90, right 20, bottom 0, and left 20 pixels. So it's going to reposition this black rectangle inside of the green rectangle. Let's go to step 16. And now we're finally going to use the key class. So we are addressing these 21 individual keys. Let's change the background color first. We'll set the position to relative. And we'll add width and height. And now we can see it. So it's all, let's say, layered on top of one another. We'll need to reposition that so that we have our keys from left to right. And we'll do so in step 17. Adjust the margin to 2 pixels and set the float to left. And now we have these 21 keys right here in the center. Step 18. This one might be a little bit trickier, but we'll go over it and understand it properly. Let us just write the selector, so dot key, dot black minus minus key, and then after. Make sure that you don't have spacing in between that, so you want to have it exactly written like this. And this will target the elements with the class key and then black minus minus key. So all of these, what was it, the second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth or something like this. So every element that has the two classes and not just one will now be selected. And with the pseudo-selector that we are using here after, we're going to add something after this div container. Let us first change the background color and set the content to these quotation marks that are empty. This step is necessary to actually create something, or to actually create something that we can see in the browser display. So these pseudo-selectors are always empty, and we need to add something even if it is just the quotation marks to have them actually existing. So instead of leaving it empty, I'll add the heart shape and I get rid of the background color property. And now you can see it right here. So let's go over this once more. We have our key and black minus minus key classes, which selects these second elements. And after them, we have now added with the pseudo-selector this content of a heart shape, and that's why it appears right here. So these divs are actually empty, and then thanks to the pseudo-selector, we've added this heart. Let us go back to what we need here, so background color and the empty content, and we'll go to step 19. Let's change the position to absolute and set the left position to minus 18 pixels. Step 20. We're still in the same selector and we'll adjust width and height. And now we can finally see it. So these are our black keys. Here they are, and they are exactly in center thanks to the absolute positioning and the left value of minus 18. So you can see I can move that around if I change the value. And if I wouldn't have a value, it starts right where the first white key ends. So we had to position it absolute and then use a negative value to get it pulled a little bit to the left. So that it looks like on a real piano where it is in center of these two white keys. Step 21, we'll need to add a logo. So we are back in the index.html and we'll use the image element right here, right before our keys div, so inside of the piano, but before the second div container. And our source is given. It also needs an alt text and we need a class. Class value is logo. Let's not forget that. And this is what it now looks like. It's way too big. So we'll select it in step 22 in our starts.css, and we can use the class selector of logo. Size it down first, and then reposition it using absolute, and set the top to 23 pixels. So we are back in our piano. It contains the image, but we can't see it anymore, as the position of the piano needs to be set to relative first. And now the logo has reappeared. Step 24. Let's change the border radius of our piano first. So you can see that everything here, the keys and our green box, they have sharp edges. And we're going to change that now. We are in the piano ID selector, and this has made the green shape on the edges round. We'll do the same now for our key selector. So these were all of these white keys and the black ones. The values are given. But to be actually able to make the black keys have this round border, we need our pseudo-selector once again. And change the border radius here once more. Step 27, here's a media query. I believe we've had one before in freecodecamp, but here it becomes a little bit more obvious what it actually is. So it's more like a condition. So you can read it like this. If the max width in our example is 960 pixels, only then will our card class be selected and a padding of 2 root-em is given. And now we'll set it up for our real media query that we need. You need the @ sign, media, then the normal brackets, then the curly brackets, and inside of the normal brackets you have the condition. In this case the max width of 768 pixels. So we've got our condition, but what do we actually want to happen when this condition is met? Well, we want our piano ID to be selected, and a width of 358 pixels is given. So if you resize that, you can see how the green box is now changing in size depending on our browser window size. We can add multiple selectors inside of the media query. So if the condition of max width 768 pixels is met, we also want the keys to be selected. But it's not an ID, it's a class, my mistake here. So let me correct that. And now you can see not only the green box changes, but also our keys. And we also want the logo to change its width. So we'll add it once more. It's the class logo. And now the logo has 2 different sizes, depending on the size of the browser window. Let me make it slowly. And right here it jumps to a smaller size. So let me exaggerate this size, and you can see we're right now in this condition. Step 31. We want our overflow to be hidden so that the keys disappear when we make our browser window smaller. So set the overflow to hidden and that should already solve it. You can see it, the keys disappear. Step 32. You can add multiple conditions to your media query. In the example, the media or the min width and max width. This is now the new condition. So whatever we put inside is only going to be executed when our window size is between 500 and 1000 pixels. And we want to do that as well for our piano example. But in this case, we need 769 pixels for the min width. And max width will be 1199. But it's the same game. So everything in between will now trigger this, whatever we're going to put inside of the media query. Step 33. Now we're going to put what we need inside. What is it? Let me check it. We need our piano selector, the ID selector, and set the width to 675 pixels. And the keys width will be 633 pixels. But I believe I've used the wrong brackets here for the piano ID selector. Let me change that. We obviously need the curly brackets, but now it should be fine. So we now have 3 different sizes. Depending on where we are, the media query executes different width for our classes and IDs. And that was already it. So a shorter section, but it was interesting, I think, because of the media query. As always, go over it yourself, and if you get stuck, refer to my walkthrough. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.